Hi guys, I hope that you had a great spring break. I know you couldn't go out and do much, but I hope it was relaxing and that you had a really good fun time. And now we are back in the swing of things for school. Math's going to be looking a little bit differently for the next few weeks. We're going to be reviewing some of the things that we did previously this year, just so you keep on top of it in case we go back or in case you need the information for next year regardless. We kind of stopped halfway through our chapter on operations with fractions. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back, we're going to review a little bit of the things that we already learned, like adding and subtracting fractions, adding and subtracting mixed numbers. Then you're going to learn something new, multiplying fractions by whole numbers. And then we'll be at the end of this chapter. So what we're going to start with is adding and subtracting fractions. And you're going to see my little picture go away, and I'm just going to be working on the screen in front of us. So when we were adding and subtracting fractions, we're just going to start with adding, okay? So let's say you have the fraction 4/7 plus 1/7. Remember, we just added the numerators. We just add the things on top. So 4 plus 1 is 5. And then your denominator right here stays the same, 5/7. And we always, I'm going to add a sticky note over here to remind you, always put into simplest form. Always, that's our general rule here, okay? So that was just a super easy one. Obviously, they're going to get more complicated if you remember the lesson from school. The next one we're going to be doing is 7/20 plus 8/20. Now, I didn't mention this earlier, but if you have a piece of notebook paper or a whiteboard, you absolutely should be doing the work with me while I'm doing it. So if you need to pause this and get a piece of notebook paper to do your work, go ahead and do that, please. Okay, so the first thing we do is we add the numerators. We have to add 7 plus 8. So 7 plus 8 is 15. And then our denominator stays the same. It's 20. Now 15/20 is our answer, but we have to always put into simplest form. So I have to think, what goes into 15 and 20? What can I divide 15 by and 20? What goes into both of those? Well, 5 goes into both of those. Okay, so 15 divided by 5 is 3, and 20 divided by 5 is 4. So 3/4 would be our final answer there. Now, sometimes when we have fractions, they're going to equal something that turns it into an improper fraction. So here we're doing 5/8 plus 6/8. 5 plus 6 is what we do first. 5 plus 6 is 11. 11/8. Now you know we cannot leave this as 11/8. This is an improper fraction. So remember, what we do here is we have to see how many times does 8 go into 11. 8 goes into 11 one time. That's our whole that we're pulling out. We're pulling 8 out of there. And then we do 11 minus 8. Okay, and 11 minus 8 is 3. So I put my 3 here, and my 8, my numerator stays the same. Now, is 3/8 in simplest form? Yes. Nothing else besides 1 will go into 3 and 8. So my total answer here, 5/8 plus 6/8 equals 1 and 3/8. Okay, hopefully you're still doing these with me as we go. 10/12 plus 6/12. Well, same thing as before. We add the numerators. So 10 plus 6 is 16. Our denominator stays the same. So we have 12/16. This is an improper fraction, so we cannot leave it like this. What we have to do now is we have to see how many times does 12 go into 16. That's an arrow. It's a really bad one. 12 goes into 16 one time. So we can pull out 12. 16 minus 12 is 4. Our denominator stays the same as it always does. Oops, sorry about that. Here, let's fix that 12. There we go. So we have 1 and 4/12. Now I have to look at 4/12 and think, is this in simplest form? It is not. I have something that can go into 4 and 12. And don't forget, that whole number 1 has to come over. Some of you always used to forget that whole number. Don't forget it behind. 4 and 12 can both be divided by 4. So 4 divided by 4 is 1, and 12 divided by 4 is 3. So our final answer is 1 1/3. It's going to be really important on your exit tickets, on your quiz, on everything else you do this week, that you always put these things into simplest form. Okay, that's going to be super crucial. We're going to switch now to subtracting fractions. All right, subtracting fractions. If you remember correctly, subtracting fractions is actually like much easier than adding fractions because it can't go over. All you have to worry about is, again, making sure that it's always in simplest form. That's going to be key here. All right, so 10 minus 5, we just subtract the numerator. Do not do anything else with the denominator. The denominator stays the same the whole time. So 10 minus 5 is the part that we're doing here, and that is 5. Our denominator stays the same, 12. Now, if you're forgetting how to tell if this is in simplest form, you're going to list factors, if you remember correctly. Like 5 only has factors of 1 and 5. Only 1 times 5 equals 5. 12 has a lot of factors. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12. So what you're checking is, do any of these overlap except for 1? These only have 1 in common, which means that this is already in simplest form. Can't do anything else with it. Okay, next we have 9/20 minus 4/20. So remember, first we subtract 9 minus 4, and that's going to give us 5. Our denominator stays the same. Now I think to myself, does anything go into 5 and 20? Do they share a factor? Yes, they do. You can divide 5 and 20 by 5. So 5 divided by 5 is 1. 20 divided by 5 is 4. So 1/4 is our final answer. Always has to be in simplest form. Okay, our next problem is 7/9 minus 4/9. You need to just subtract 7 minus 4 first. 7 minus 4 is 3. My denominator stays the same. I think to myself, will anything go into 3 and 9? And you can always check. Your factors for 3 are 1 and 3. Your factors for 9 are 1 times 9, and then 3 times 3. We only listed once. So this one does have other factors in common. We have 3, which means I can divide both of these by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 9 divided by 3 is 3. So 1/3 is your final answer. Okay, I'm back. Like I was telling you earlier, you're going to have a lot of different things in math than you have in the past. We're going to be kind of out of the book for a while. And even with the new stuff, I'm going to teach it to you on that whiteboard like we just did. This pattern that you're going to have to kind of follow is a lot of things on ALEKS. If you're not getting on ALEKS to do those quizzes, you need to be, because that's going to be good extra practice. You're going to have exit tickets starting this week more frequently. You're going to have them almost every week on Google Forms. So after a lesson, you'll do an exit ticket just to make sure that I can see that you understand. If you don't do so well on the exit ticket, I might have you watch my lesson again, just to make sure that you are understanding the material. You're going to be doing things on that I Know It website, which I really like. Don't forget to always comment and let me know how you do. You can send that to me in a private message also if you don't want people to see how you did. Or if you really need to, you can have your parents send me a message and they can tell me, hey, they're really not understanding it. And I can recommend that you watch the lesson again, or I can give you other things to practice. You're also going to have to do 1 or 2 worksheets a week, which are going to be like as attachments. You can open them as PDFs. And then I'll send your parents the answers so that they're able to kind of check your work and make sure that you're doing things the way that you should be. And then you can look forward to seeing me every week teaching you a new lesson. In this case, we were reviewing something we already learned, so this shouldn't be too bad, I hope. Okay, so if you need anything throughout the week, make sure you let your parents know or let me know somehow through the comments, or let your parents know and they can send me an email or something like that. And we'll make sure that we get it all done. Okay, so now you have an exit ticket to do to practice some of this stuff. Make sure, how do I turn this off? Still new to some of this technology. Okay, goodbye.